Hi guys, Ms. O'Connell here. So I'm going to start out first by talking about the AP exam. So typically the day after the exam, we have a party and we kind of celebrate the fact that we've spent all year kind of going full steam ahead at accomplishing our course tasks. So unfortunately, we're unable to do that. Which obviously is a little bit upsetting for me. It's probably upsetting for you as well. So Friday, I kind of just gave you the day off. I hope that we feel a little bit refreshed after, not having class for the past 3 days and that we're ready to go. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is to fill out 2 surveys. So the first survey is an anonymous survey that kind of asks you to reflect back on how you felt during the exam, while taking it, and then kind of think back to class over the past year. So we'll talk about that. And then the second survey is kind of a game plan. So typically I have activities and labs already ready and set up for when we are done with the AP exam. The goal of the last month of the year, right, is to focus on things that you are interested in, either whether you want to study those as you move forward throughout your academic career, or you just find them interesting and you want to learn more about them. This portion is really supposed to be based on your own interests and giving us time as a group to look into what interests and inspires us individually. My goal is still to, stick to that premise, but we're going to have to do it in a slightly different way. So I came up with a few different game plans as to how we can do that. I'm going to have you guys vote on which one you'd rather do as a group, and then we're going to stick to that plan for the next month or so. Okay, so I'm going to head to the actual surveys and just talk about them for a second. So this survey here, it is literally labeled anonymous. Okay, so you're going to fill this out. Just explain how well prepared you felt for the exam. What do you think your best area on the exam was? So was there a specific concept that you blew out of the park on the exam? If so, which one? Or if they asked you a question on a specific topic, which topic do you think would have been your absolute best? Which topic was your weakest area, whether that's a specific to a test question or in general. So you're glad they didn't ask you a question on blank because you didn't feel confident in it. That next question is, what activities, assignments do you feel was best beneficial to your learning? So did you like doing labs? Did you like having to whiteboard homework problems? Which activities did you find most helpful? And then, is there anything you felt that we spent too much time on in class? So did we spend too much time on a particular unit that you thought was easy and we didn't need to spend that much time on? What made the biggest difference in preparation for the AP exam? So usually the answer to the question that I get for that is the AP exam review sessions. Unfortunately, only one of you guys kind of came to the AP exam review sessions. I get that it's hard because you're on the computer all week. Your eyes probably hurt. I understand. I'm also in grad school, so I teach, I record videos, I grade papers on the computer, then I go to class on the computer for 3 hours. So I totally understand why you didn't want to come on Saturday. But if you did attend and that was something that was helpful, please note that. If you prepared in a different way, so I did post some links to College Board. If you use those videos and they helped you, please note that. So what did you use in your preparation for the AP exam that really helped you while studying? Okay, and if it's a separate resource other than something that I gave you, please list that as well, so that I can help out future groups. What do you feel you should have done differently in classes support learning? So basically, um, what else would have helped you in class to prepare for the AP exam or in general? So if you have any ideas there, please feel free to list it. What advice do you have for next year's students? Okay, so if you could talk to a September version of yourself, what would you say to them to help them do well in this course and prepare for the AP exam? And then any other information you want to tell me. So again, this is anonymous. You must answer the first 3 questions. So the first 3 questions are starred, the first 4 questions are starred. The rest of the questions aren't starred, so if you don't really have an answer for one of those, you don't have to answer it. But the first 4 questions you must complete. And as always, be honest but respectful. Okay, so that's the first survey. So a gauge on how you felt about the exam, what was helpful to you, what do you think we should have spent less time on? And then the post-AP game plan. So there are 4 different game plans that are kind of in the drawing pot here. So the first one would be that you independently work on an independent project as guided by me. So you'd have to meet with me at least twice a week personally, individually, and we would talk about your progress on the project, etc. Okay, so you'd be given options. Those options are listed in that next question, so we'll get to those. And you would meet with me to discuss your project. I would give you feedback week to week on what can be, made better, addressed, maybe some resources that could be helpful for you in researching your idea, things along those lines. So independent project that you would do independently. The second option is that you are going to complete an independent project as listed in the next question, but in a group of 2. Okay, and you would again still need to meet with me twice a week to talk about things that can be addressed. Okay. The third option is that you work independently on a project that the whole class is completing. And those options are kind of on the bottom here. Okay, so we'd work together to work through different types of projects. Most of them would be engineering based. And then last option is that as a class with lab activities, we basically focus on a particular unit that we didn't previously cover. So those options are in the third question. Okay, so we'll get to those. So those are 4 different types of learning opportunities, independence on an independent topic. So something that you are interested in doing. You pick the topic, you do the project independently, and you present your results. Second option, you and a partner independently pick a topic, create an independent project, present those results. Okay, you have mandatory meetings with me for those first 2 options that count as points. So if you don't show up to the meeting, you lose points every time you don't show up. Third option is an independent project in which we do as a class. So you'd all do the project kind of together at the same time, and we would meet and talk about what we built. That's kind of more of a fun, hands-on activity, and that would require me dropping an envelope of materials at your house, which I actually already have prepared, so we could do that as well. We do the projects together as a class. And then the fourth option is that we stick to a content and you guys vote on that content, and we'll do labs. We'll do a choice board assessment just like we did for our last test on one more additional unit. Okay, and if we do that, my suggestion would be electronics, because most of us have no experience with circuits. And they're actually really cool and really fun to work with. And there's a lot of online simulations and Tinkercad creations that we can do. So we could basically create an Arduino robot using Tinkercad. So pretty cool stuff. All right, so those are our 4 options. So you're gonna pick one of these options that you would most rather do. You have to pick one out of the 4. The next question is independent project ideas that you would find interesting. Okay, so options 1 and 2 would correspond to this question. You're going to answer it regardless of whether you picked 1 or 2 as an option. So you would do research independently and then write a paper. So an example would be the physics of a tennis serve, the physics of a jump shot, the physics of a car engine. So you'd write a paper on the physics within that system, and then you would present that research in the form of a paper to our class over time. If writing is not your thing, you can do experimental research, okay, and then you present those results to the class. Experimental research could really have a large range. You could create your own experiment on a specific topic, research the history of that experiment, present the history of the experiment, and then your own results. You could instead figure out a concept and then basically create an experiment around that concept, okay? Or you can try to modify a system to be most efficient, and you can do that experimentally. So create a prototype, test it out, see how you can make it better, improve that prototype, test it out, see how you can make it better using your understanding of physics, and then explain to us that process of how you did that. Third option, physics modeling with computer programming. So basically you create a accurate representation of physics using some computer programming model, which you could basically take what you learned in computer science and use one of those programs. But I also have how-to tutorials to use specific programs. Actually teach a course like that over the summer at summer camps. So I can help you out with that. So if you're interested in the computer programming of real life physics situations, but you have no experience, I can give you a quick tutorial as to how to do that. Okay, so if you're not in computer science, that doesn't mean that you can't do that topic. An art-based physics project or a physics critic. Okay, so art-based project, I have a rubric made for that. So basically through the media of art, you're explaining some physical concept, and you'll present that, obviously. Last thing was physics critic project. You would either make a movie explaining the bad or the good physics in a movie, a 15-song playlist, etc. So you can talk about how physics is portrayed well or incorrectly within movies, TV shows, music. Okay, these projects will actually take a good amount of time. You would again do those independently and present them. Okay, that third question corresponds with the last bullet point. Okay, learning as a class with labs and activities that are focused on a particular unit. These are the units that you have to choose from. So we can continue with waves and sound. Okay, there's a few things that we didn't quite get to that aren't in the AP1 curriculum, are kind of above the AP1 curriculum, but are interesting. So the physics of hearing and music. Optics, we can talk about reflection and refraction. So how do your eyes work? How do magnifying glasses work? Could Piggy and the Lord of the Flies glasses actually start a fire? Okay, why or why not? So those are kind of the major questions that we would approach. Electric circuits, so how does current flow through a circuit? What's a resistor? What's a capacitor? How does your phone work? Why does your phone hold charge? Those are the kind of questions that we would focus on in electric circuits or modern physics. So with modern physics, we would combine a little bit of special relativity and atomic theory. So where did our model of an atom come from? What's the history of determining which model actually best portrays how an atom is structured? And then that will lead us into relativity. Okay, so the creation of the universe, the Big Bang Theory, We talk about length contraction and time dilation if we were moving through space. Yeah, so those are the 4 different topics that you have to choose from if you'd rather do a focused unit as a class. Okay, and last option, if we wanted to do a project-based unit as a class, you would pick the projects that seem the most interesting to you. We'd probably get through 2 of these projects. So paper tower design. So basically, we look at the applications of applied forces. How could you build a tower to support as much mass as possible using only paper and tape? Fidget spinner design. So that would involve me supplying some materials, but you could use whatever materials you have at home as well. So we'd apply moments of inertia and rotation, which we didn't quite really cover in depth. So that would be a great unit to do as well. Also interesting and applicable, and you would leave with an actual fidget spinner that you could use in the future. Bridge design, which is a digital application. So West Point basically created a free version of a bridge redesign program that's free for schools. So basically, we would talk about loads, force, etc., the importance of material and their weights in designing bridges, and you guys would digitally design your own bridge. Last thing, which would be pretty interesting in my opinion, but you of course have to have your own interest in it, is using Hooke's law to determine how to accurately detect breast cancer in a less painful way. So we talk about how Hooke's law relates to stress and elasticity measurements, and how we could use the elasticity measurement to determine if a tissue is filled with fatty fluid or if a tissue is a healthy tissue based on the amount of stretch and the amount of compression in that tissue. Okay, so in this question, right, you're selecting all that you find interesting. You can select one or all of them. Okay, same with the independent projects. Okay, but the first question and the third question, you are picking just one. All right, so that's it for today. You must complete those 2 surveys, and we will talk about our game plan after I get these surveys. So I'm going to need these by 2:30 today, which is Monday. So it's Monday, May 18th. I need these by 2:30. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.